Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lady Lacy Show. I'm Lady Lacy. Working for free, or this is the worst internship ever. And I'm here to show some videos of some stuff that really changed my life. Hold on, I gotta let open. So, we're going through some craziness right now, okay? And I know we are. Oh, let's turn that off too. Kitty? I have a pregnant kitty. She's very demanding. Very. Okay. Alrighty. So, let's look up some videos. I've been mad at McDonald's ever since I got kicked out in South Carolina. But then I saw this video. And it changed my mind. And it starts with this one.
Crocheting is more than what you do. It's part of who you are. At Craftsy, we understand that handmade...
Well, it's been 14 years in the making, and today, finally, McDonald's threw open the doors to its first restaurant in Moscow. And make no mistake, this was an event of major gastronomic proportions. Our Moscow correspondent, Don Murray, savored the cultural revolution that surrounds the Big Mac's arrival in Moscow.
A feast.
All right. Oh, there's some nice lighting right there. Okay. This is the first McDonald's ever. And I actually love McDonald's. I had my 4-year-old birthday party there, so I actually have a weird love for McDonald's. It's delicious. Let's watch the Russians. I think the same guy. Yeah, he's in there. Let's watch how the Russians enjoy McDonald's.
In the time of plague, the words of Alexander Pushkin, Russia's
Hidden hand.
In this new time of troubles, on the square that bears his name and statue, Pushkin now contemplates McDonald's. And the question is, was this the feast he wrote about? They opened what may be the world's largest hamburger stand this morning, and Pushkin's descendants crowded in. Their verdict on the feast was mixed. I don't like it at all, he says. It's not Russian.
It's very beautiful, but I expected more, I think.
This woman doesn't know what she just ate, but she says it was unusual and delicious. We're all hungry in this city, she says. We need more of these places. There's nothing in our stores or restaurants. If you're McDonald's with a restaurant that can serve up to 15,000 meals a day, how do you ensure that you don't run out of food like everyone else? The answer lies in a Moscow suburb, a complete food processing plant, part of McDonald's $50 million investment here, where 14,000 buns per hour are baked, where 3,000 tons of potatoes are peeled and measured, where 10,000 patties an hour are prepared and frozen. That's expensive, and so is the end product for the Soviet consumer. A Big Mac, French fries, and a drink is the equivalent of half a day's wages. Some unhappy Muscovites are publicly protesting. 7 or 8 rubles for lunch, he says. They're ripping us off. But those inside are still trying to digest the service. I spilled my milkshake, he says, and I thought they'd bawl me out. Instead, they gave me another one.
Okay. Did y'all hear that? This young guy, he's like, I thought they would bawl me out, but they gave me another one. I mean, that's just... McDonald's set the president.
All of the staff have been taught to smile relentlessly, all the time.
I smile to anybody and they say, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? I wonder what has happened. Why they smile? They think that I'm laughing at them.
Okay, why I got kicked out of McDonald's? We didn't have a mask on, me and my kids, and I pulled up to McDonald's like I'd done, a million times my whole life, not just myself, someone else driving me there. And first, I like to go to the bathroom, especially like trips, So I get in and I make my right, and they're like, "Ma'am, you need a mask." And then, it kind of got ugly, and I'm not proud of it, but it hurt my feelings because I love McDonald's. All right, here we go.
And so, on this day, when cameras jostled and public relations triumphed, the head of McDonald's Canada, the prime mover in this joint venture, waxed lyrical, invoking Pushkin himself.
I think he'd probably write a magnificent poem saying that in this day and age, it's nice when the people can come out and get meat, bread, potatoes, and milk of the highest quality.
What Pushkin did write was this: happiness can only be found in communal pursuits. They started lining up this morning at 4 o'clock. Happiness today in Moscow lay in the communal pursuit of a Big Mac. Don Murray, CBC News, Moscow.
And 2 more signs of the instant hit McDonald's was today. The store had to stay open several hours past its posted closing time because there were so many people still in line. And the store set a McDonald's record for most people served on an opening day, 30,000.
30,000. 30,000. Okay, so that's just touching the surface, guys. I hope you just saw they're not used to smiling at each other, which I've never seen before because I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. They're not used to politeness. They're used to chewing each other out. And but what really fascinates me, and there's a lot of what's McDonald's like in Russia now, is these 1990 videos, man. They're old. They've been on the internet. This one's 11 years old. I've been kicked out of a bar too. They said that was the funniest thing they've ever seen. People came to my bar after that to come visit me. They're like, "Do you remember last night?" I'm like, "No." You told the whole bar when you got kicked out that you were going to the fun bar. Oh, man. Good time.
И ничего, коляска заскрипит, мои сердечко, ты посумирай. Значит, лишь песенка звучит. Моя цыганочка, моя славяночка, моя лукавочка, любимая моя.
Look at all these people. I think they're waiting on McDonald's.
И не забуду твои черные глаза.
One little guy eating McDonald's. Are they ever gonna make it? I don't think people get. It's not the fact that these people didn't have money. It's not the fact that they didn't have money. They didn't have resources. And we're going to get into that, how McDonald's actually taught Russia and had to cooperate with the communists, which is awful. But anyway, had to cooperate to teach them how to grow food better. And we're going to have to redo this. We're going to have to teach people how to grow food. Even though I'm cursed, I want to figure it out. You can just take them anywhere. They're polite.
C'est le déclin de l'Empire
Закат
soviétique.
Советской империи.
3 heures,
3-4
4
часа стоять в очереди
pour un
в фастфуд.
fast-food. Tu sais qu'en
Ты знаешь,
français,
что
en
по-французски,
anglais, ça veut
то есть
dire
по-английски это
déjeuner
значит
rapide.
быстрый обед.
Ouais,
Да.
mais en général, ça fait
Обычно
beaucoup plus.
приходится
Tu sais,
больше стоять.
All right, so that's cool. Right. I'm not saying they're the best. I'm just sharing what they did with Russia. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I just think it's an amazing story. This is why they put it on TV. It's amazing.
Back in 1985 in the USSR, Mikhail Gorbachev
Well, you know, I'm a
launched
Waffle House
his
fan.
famous economic
Waffle House is the
restructuring
best place to
program.
work.
He called
and
it Perestroika. Unfortunately, despite all his good intentions, all his reforms, serious shortages of housing, food, and consumer goods still exist and are still growing. Well, to help ease this difficult situation, many joint ventures have been formed, partnerships with Western businesses. But so far, few have produced visible results. So for 290 million Soviets, the first taste of perestroika has been somewhat bitter. However, there is one such venture that has indeed made a difference.
I think so.
Quite some difference. This is that story. On the 31st of January, 1990, in a dark Pushkin Square before dawn, the first McDonald's in Moscow glowed like a beacon. People had already started lining up in anticipation, even before the first crew workers arrived. There was much to do. McDonald's would open for business for the first time ever in the Soviet Union. Crowds were building all morning. Years of work were finally paying off.
This restaurant is for the people of the Soviet Union. There's a sign on the wall that says for rubles only. The minute we
This guy worked 14 years to get this accomplished. And he is a Canadian. I wonder what he's up to now.
we open the door, it's their restaurant. They're going to come in this restaurant, they're going to enjoy it, and it's theirs forever.
The man who started it all is George Cohan. He is president of McDonald's Canada and vice chairman of the joint venture in Moscow. At the 76 Olympics in Montreal, he'd invited the Soviet delegation to dinner at McDonald's.
They saw the productivity, and they really, really were excited with what they saw. And I instantly thought, let's take this thing to the Soviet Union. And we started discussions that evening, just that simple.
Negotiations with the Soviets were not so simple. Cohan made dozens of trips to Moscow and found himself confronted with various changes in administration. Despite some frustrating setbacks, he persisted, and 12 years later, it paid off. He'd finally won them over.
The reason they lined up was, and even though they were getting technically overcharged, is that they had plenty of money. They just didn't have no food. And they had food, but not much of it. So watch how McDonald's got food to Russia.
On April the 29th, 1988, Cohan signed the documents officially creating a joint venture, the largest ever in the Soviet food service industry. Vladimir Malishkov is the chairman of Moscow McDonald's. He is also the head of Mosov Shapit. One of its divisions is Mos Restaurant Service, a Soviet partner in this venture. This huge department supervises restaurants, school cafeterias, and office lunch halls. Indeed, nearly every place where Muscovites dine out. Service is often slow. But the food can be beautifully presented, served on fine china, with linen tablecloths and silver. Or it can be a simple cup of tea served in a tiny cafe. There are even restaurants for children. Other locations are not so comfortable, but at least they're relatively fast. Some restaurants have vending machines.
Watch this.
But everyone has to share the same glass.
Look, you gotta wash it.
This is the gap the joint venture was hoping to fill to serve not only the 9 million Muscovites, but the nearly 3 million visitors who travel through Moscow every day.
Our market is huge, but right now we cannot meet all the demand of the local people, so people criticize us, and they're right.
See?
The Soviet bureaucrats
He can't meet
may
the
have
local
joined the venture
demand.
to satisfy the needs of their citizens, but they picked up more than they expected from their McDonald's partners.
They have a very
Oh, well, I
interesting
know,
technology,
you know,
good staff motivation and organization.
I know, you know, but, we might have someone younger watching this.
We're learning from each other, and we've become more than just business partners. We're friends.
Oh.
We've been talking for a long time about where should we put the first restaurant. There used to be a little cafe here called Cafe Lyra. And Cafe Lyra used to serve about 700 people a day. So we looked at it and I said, what a great location. Now, who runs this location? He says, well, we run it. Masop Shafit. And I said, well, why don't we put it into the joint venture and let this be site number 1?
In March 1989, renovations started. First, the old Cafe Lyra had to be gutted by Soviet workmen and a whole new floor plan created. It would seat 700 inside and 200 outside and would be the most modern restaurant in Moscow. At the same time, the partners were arranging purchases of vast amounts of local produce such as onions, lettuce, and pickles from Soviet producers. One item was especially important, the humble potato, one of the integral ingredients.
This potato is ideal to make a good long French fry. Well, this potato, although it has an excellent taste, you cannot make French fries out of this. So we have to bring in our own variety and grow this type of potatoes.
This is a good soil for potato growing. I'm very happy with this soil. It's a clay type of soil.
I rank this country as one of the most difficult ones to grow potatoes. I remember when we started, they were very skeptical. As soon as you work with them and as soon as they trust you, they're very eager to learn whatever you want to teach them, to learn about the West and technology.
In Toronto, early in 1989, 4 Soviet trainee managers who...
Y'all remember Toronto? Well, now it's just slavery country.
who had been hired in Moscow, arrived for 9 months of extensive training.
We put together a book to talk about the different things of living in Canada. Where our offices...
They were given something that is difficult to...
That's the problem, Canadians. You were too good. You were too good. Now you got to be punished. You can't leave the States without quarantining. You got to face all these stupid fines. You got to pay for a queen and a king, and who needs that crap? So here you go. You're being punished, McDonald's Canada. Thank McDonald's for punishing
come by
you.
in the USSR.
Because I got kicked out for not wearing a mask in South Carolina. What's up with you? What's up, McDonald's? You can't always be the victim. You've got to stand up to these mask-tards.
Maps of the area. The trainees also got their first feel of hard currency. Shopping was an eye-opening experience.
The first time we went to supermarket, it was incredible. I saw many different kinds of one product. I was surprised.
Many different kinds of products. Wow.
Cheese Big Mac, please. Thank you.
Another surprise was their sudden plunge into the world behind the quick service counter. At first, it wasn't easy for them to keep up with the non-stop pace set by the energetic crews and teaching supervisors.
Watch the customer flows. You drive through.
They worked hard. Hamzat Hasbulatov, Georgy Smolyevsky, Mikhail Sheleznov, and Vladimir Churakovsky.
And they're making more than Soviet doctors. They're making more than Soviet doctors.
Before McDonald's, I have never walked so fast. Only when I played soccer or tennis. It's like sport.
It was all so new, so efficient. 3 of the 4 had been supervisors in Soviet food service. But this system is so different from any other. It has truly become a time and motion science since the first McDonald's restaurant was opened in the 50s. Only 2 weeks on the job, the Soviets sometimes couldn't quite get it right.
Now, George, put on the lettuce. A little too much, George. Yes. Da. Good. Here to go.
The infectious charm of the Soviets and their accents piqued the curiosity of their Canadian customers.
I'm Michael. I'm from Russia. Is everything okay? Yes. We are welcome.
2, please. Now I'm confused. Are we in Russia or are we in Canada?
Some of them tried to help us because they understood that we don't know English. So they helped us to serve customers. They explained customers, don't worry, don't so fast. Russians, they don't know. Oh, it's Russians. Okay, we can wait.
Back in the Soviet Union, there was no time to spare. More international consultants were visiting farms outside.
See, you get told to wait your whole life. You just expect to wait. And they're like, what? We don't wait? We move fast? What?
Moscow. They were hoping to find reliable sources of quality beef for the millions of hamburgers that would be served. Here at Voronova, the experts were only too glad to find that the beef could meet with McDonald's standards. The joint venture was also setting up deals with farms for steady sources of food supply, such as milk, flour, and butter, which would be needed in huge quantities in 1990. In the fall of '88, construction began in Soltsaba, a suburb of Moscow, on a unique project. McDonald's decided to put all its food processing operations under one roof for the first time anywhere. An army of more than 300.
Wow. That has to be huge. Under one roof. Because you know they left room to expand. You know.
Construction workers from Europe, North America, and the Soviet Union worked together to build a plant the size of 3 football fields. Nothing was left to chance. Key management personnel were recruited early on.
There's a great Russian expression that says you have to eat many, many meals with people before you can come to know them.
Mark Weiner is an American executive who speaks 4 languages. Having worked in Eastern Europe for many years, he and his family have quickly learned to adapt to everyday life in Moscow.
I think these beginning months have been real difficult. Some days we have felt we haven't accomplished too much. Perestroika can't happen overnight. You're trying to undo decades of a certain way of behavior. Paperwork is a special case, and that's one of the many things we're trying to change in the Soviet system.
Business practices here are rapidly changing, but the 19th century still exists side by side with the 20th. Setting up a Western-style business in the Soviet Union is never easy. Just getting permission for basic business equipment for their tiny office in the Minsk Hotel was a challenge. For example, there are no telephone directories in Moscow.
What? 1990, no telephone directories? Wow.
It took 6 months to get just one international telephone line.
We really felt cut off for a long time. We were using Russian carrier pigeons.
I don't know if he's joking about that.
I like the way you make me laugh and all the crazy things you do. Someday you'll be surprised by.
Funny.
Capitalism was to soon arrive in the land of Lenin. Here at Harvard University's Russian Research Center, the Soviet political and economic situation is constantly monitored to keep up to date on the rapid changes. Marshall Goldman feels that many joint ventures may be doomed to failure but that this particular one has a good chance of success.
McDonald's is different. They're going back into the roots of the system. If it works and it spreads and it's not going to be just for the party elite, it's going to be for the masses. This, for Gorbachev, will be one of the first concrete steps he's had towards moving towards perestroika.
In Moscow, with the opening deadline approaching, work on the construction of the new restaurant really started to speed up. The Soviet-Canadian Joint Ventures Board met frequently to deal with a multitude of problems. They ranged from major headaches such as cost overruns, customs delays, supply of materials and power, to minor inconveniences such as restricted travel outside Moscow.
And unfortunately, we cannot allow free travel to foreign specialists in this country.
All of the problems were eventually
No free travel. What does that sound like?
overcome.
Unfortunately, we don't have as much flexibility as McDonald's. We're a state interest, and we have to work within the confines of the law for state corporations. In my opinion, the experience of partnership is not an easy one. It's still rather hard to deal with us, since we have no experience in trading with Western companies, and we are slow to gain this experience.
At Kashira, a huge 11,000-hectare farm complex southwest of Moscow, harvesting now was in full swing. On all such farms that grew the joint venture potatoes, the yield had been increased up to 100%. The Kashira chairman was brimming with pride.
Agriculture specialists from all over the Soviet Union are coming here to get the know-how from us. They want to get their crops as high as 30 tons per hectare too. And
I'm a 100% believer that big potatoes are delicious. And it's amazing that he's actually saying people are coming down to see what's going on and to learn from McDonald's. Absolutely. I mean, you don't even have a phone directory. How are you supposed to get anything done?
we are willing to share our expertise with them.
But harvesters from Holland were used to do much of the digging. This was to prevent the rough blades of older Soviet machines from cutting them.
On the level of development in machinery, they are, I would say, they are something like 15, 20 years behind the West of Europe. But it won't take them 25 years to catch up with us.
It won't take 25 years to catch up with. How nice.
Back in Toronto, 26 more Soviet men and women were undergoing months of intensive training as assistant managers.
They're in there.
In Oak Brook, Illinois, at Hamburger University, the 4 future Soviet managers took advanced instruction. From a special booth, an interpreter translated every lesson. Khamzat Khasbulatov emerged at the top of the class. After graduation, he was officially named manager of the first restaurant on Pushkin Square. The Soviets were finally ready to return home for their toughest test of all.
I like the way you make me laugh. And all the crazy.
Look at the result of just a single ad that appeared only once in a Moscow newspaper. Wanted workers for the new McDonald's restaurant, Pushkin Square. This avalanche of mail was just a small part of that response.
After yesterday, we got 15, 17,000 applications. Too much.
In all, the final total was 27,000 applications. A lot of late nights for the Soviets, who had to hire the 600 crew needed. After the massive job of interviewing, The real work began, training the recruits.
Training began immediately after hiring, and we showed them that working for a Western company is not always necessarily glitter and glitz. We stressed the importance of working together as a team, of keeping our floors clean, our windows clean, preparing our food correctly, and serving our customers quickly and courteously and with a smile. But one of the most important points they learned during their training is that work can be fun, especially when we work together as a team.
Хотел бы вас поздравить с тем, что мы приняли вас на работу в нашу очень известную, знаменитую и популярную семью Макдональдс.
In the Moscow McDonald's staff room, Hamzat, the proud manager, coached the new recruits. He was glad to be back. He'd returned to live in his two-bedroom downtown apartment with his wife, Ludmila, and their two small sons, Timur and Artem, who loved playing with all the latest toys Hamzat had brought from North America. He felt like a pioneer, a perestroika.
I think the greatest changes that are going to take place are changes within the people in this country, because everybody's excited about what's going on. For us, especially, the greatest event coming up is the opening of our restaurant. It'll be very difficult for all of us, because all eyes are focused on us right now.
McDonald's people from all over the world poured in to help.
Everyone had a common goal. It was nice to see the Soviets and those of us in Canada and other parts of the world work together as a team to get it done.
Amazing.
And what a team it was. McDonald's gathered all its newly trained employees together.
This has been a dream for a long time. Almost 5,000 days ago, we started this project, and now it's 6 days from the opening. And so we should really feel excited.
Well, the staff was certainly ready. But what about the food? By now, the joint venture's huge processing plant was taking deliveries. Soviet potatoes measured up in the quality control lab. The plant was finally getting into the full swing of production. All was going well. Well, almost.
Almost.
Production was up, and everyone was ready. Tomorrow was opening day. In the chilly dawn of January the 31st, 1990, the lineup outside Moscow McDonald's was rapidly getting longer. Customers described what they'd like to order.
Big Mac. Всего понемножку.
Did this boy know what a Big Mac was?
Нет.
Why had they come?
Ну, знаете, я вообще-то давно стою. Я вообще приехала только сегодня ночью.
Желание побывать за границей, не выезжая из Москвы.
Many didn't really know what to expect, so crew members were handing out pamphlets which explained the food and how to order it.
И хорошая идея. Это же прекрасно. У нас такого еще не было в стране.
She knows.
Inside, Hamzat and his crew were almost ready. Unlike most other joint ventures, only rubles would be accepted here. Joint venture chairman Vladimir Malishkov was there to see it all come together, as well as vice chairman George Kohan. The world press turned out in unprecedented numbers. The Soviets were ready to spend their hard-earned rubles. After more than a decade of preparation and a $50 million investment, this joint venture would finally open for business. Led by children from a local orphanage, a human wave surged toward the 27 cash register. Thousands poured in all day long. The newly trained order takers helped the people in line decide on the unfamiliar menu. The intensive training for staff paid off. Customers were greeted with smiles and patience.
Big Mac, filet.
Pressure's on. It's real.
Hour after hour, the crowds continued, with the final total reaching more than 30,000 customers for the day, a new world's record for McDonald's. The Big Mac and fries seemed to be the favorite, but sundaes were popular too. Sometimes people didn't seem to know exactly how to eat the food, but they liked it.
Big Mac is the better, the best.
Просто очень все вкусно.
Apple pie.
The previous restaurant on this site used to cater to 20,000 Soviets a month. In its first month alone, this one served more than 1 million. In the context of the vast changes currently taking place in this part of the world, the opening of a restaurant may not seem important. Yet when this joint venture opened its doors, its symbolism as the dove of perestroika dominated headlines around the world. And inside the Soviet Union, the extraordinary impact of this venture's agricultural and production methods has helped lay the foundation for a revolution in their food system. It is this leap into the technological future of their country, more than anything else, that will be written about for a long time to come. The advent of this restaurant and the many more that are to open has done something really quite remarkable for the Soviet people. In a hopeful way, it has fired their already vivid imaginations. It's not just a tangible and welcome product of perestroika. It's more than that. It's the kind they can eat.
Moscow McDonald's has been brought to you by your local bottler of Coca-Cola Classic.
Amazing. So, what can we take from that? Well, can't go visit Canada because they're stupid right now. McDonald's used to have its head together, used to know how to just take over the world and make the world a better place with Coke, actually, but now we got to wear a mask, and I don't even know if their dining room's open yet. So, got to eat outside, got to junk up your car. So it's not a hard formula, guys, you know, just because they were the first ones to do it. Don't mean that you can't do it on your like own level. I have been looking into giant vegetables and it looks very promising, guys. It really does. Okay, so we have some messages from Isaiah. He left already. He says Zoom Truth says Florida is going to remove the mask mandates, which is smart. Yeah, he said he worked a couple assembly line jobs and it takes a while to get your timing down. I guess they had to train the Russians in Canada. Yeah, I guess they did. And you had to go. Thanks for the Mickey D. All right. So, yeah, y'all just, you know, start with your seeds right now. Get a pack of seeds. Only grow the biggest seeds, okay? Start, you know, grow them in your house. You can use a regular, I like the desk lamps. They're my favorite because you can kind of bend them over the vegetables. But, you know, don't lose hope. Don't freak out because the grocery stores are empty. Just, you know, prepare for the worst and expect the best. All right, guys? Maybe, you know, I don't want to save the world. I'd rather just, you know, win the biggest vegetable competition at the fair. But, you know, whatever. But you see how they brought the potato. The Russians had those small potatoes, which do look delicious, but you can't make a French fry with them. So they had to bring in the big potatoes, and everybody's like, hey, how you got more potato? You just grow bigger vegetables, people. Focus on the big vegetables right now. Right now, you don't want little blueberries unless you can get just a ton, because it's just, we're going to have to feed people pretty much on a massive scale. I don't see, you know, they said 2 weeks was this corona. We're pretty much almost at a year. I can't take it much anymore. You know, so let's just be free. All right. Love you guys. And I'll see y'all hopefully another day.